Hello, I hope all is well with everyone. Just wanted to come on and share a little bit of information and also share a few video clips, just short clips, 1 or 2 minutes here and there, with a combined total of about 10 minutes of interviews and speeches that I think is important, that kind of brings us back from 30 years ago up to the current times that we're living in right now. And I say that to say that you really would have to be in a real deep sleep to not know that we're living in different times. And I say different because it's different for us, those of us that are living through these times now, because our ancestors, they already went through a lot of these things. And to be honest, I lived through some of it myself. Um, I am a person that was actually born before the Civil Rights Act. I was born before the Voting Rights Act. I remember having to change schools in the second grade because my state, which is South Carolina, decided to finally comply with the Brown versus Board of Education decision. So a lot of this stuff is not so far removed. But with that being said, uh, the climate that we're in now, particularly the political climate, as much as we want to hang our hat there, it was not created by this current administration. Yes, this current administration has done its part to amplify it, but this is who America has always been. It has always been a nation that believed that certain individuals were superior and others were inferior. And I'm not here to try to fix that. My message is more so to my Black brothers and sisters to say that silence is not an option for us. Because as you will hear in the first clip, when I start the video clips, one of my longtime teachers tried to say to us where we were going to end up if we didn't do something different. And nobody really wanted to listen to him, maybe a few people, but the masses did not want to listen to him. But you cannot deny the facts. So I'm going to encourage all of you, anyone that takes the time to listen to this, to think about what you can do to stand with those who are trying to make a difference. One of the things that I truly get tired of hearing is people complaining about those who are standing up and trying to make a difference. And I know that it is no different. Even though I was born when King was assassinated, I was too young to really know what was going on during that movement. But after studying the history now, I know that there were less people with him than there were with him. In other words, there were not as many people as it appears that were supporting Dr. King. And in the end, we all know now that he was a very lonely person because people began to turn on him, especially when he started fighting for economic justice. And so we have the same thing going on now. There are some Black pastors and a few white pastors who are speaking out against the evils and injustice that's being perpetrated in the U.S. right now. And we know there are things going on in other parts of the world, but I'm mainly referring to the United States of America, where I live. Um, but I hear people criticizing these ministers, and it needs to stop. People are accusing them of being divisive and causing division, and just stop with it. If you're not interested in standing up and speaking truth to power, it's okay. Just be quiet. But don't criticize the ones who are, because I've taken some heat myself just as a citizen, just as a person who is, trying to be a voice for justice, trying to uh, educate those who want to know and who want to be a part of something that stands against evil and injustice. And so that is the one thing that does concern me when I see people criticizing. A lot of people have become disenfranchised with voting, and for me, I believe in the voting process. I've always participated, and I believe in it. But we cannot just dismiss people who say, I don't think it does any good or whatever. We got to listen to people when they say that to us, because what I will tell you is a lot of times when we have gone out, we've campaigned, we've supported, we've turned out in numbers. Black folk had the highest voting block of non-whites. We have the highest voting block in the United States of America. But look at where we fall as far as median household income. We consistently at the bottom. Something is wrong with that. You know why? Because once again, voting has not delivered what our ancestors fought for. Our ancestors did not fight for us to just go into the voting booth every 2 years or every 4 years and pull a lever or drop a ballot and come out with a sticker that says I voted. They fought for us to have economic justice. They fought for us to have liberation. They fought for us to have equality. And we have not received that yet. And sometimes that is because the very people we have supported have gotten in office. They've received their own personal reparation. When they get out of office, they've gotten their own, seats on these boards, and they're doing okay, while the others, the masses, are still suffering. And there have been plenty of people who have stood for us. Some in these clips that I'm going to play, particularly Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. Randall Robinson, and they had very little support. I can think of a few members of the Congressional Black Caucus that stood with them. One that stands out, particularly Maxine Waters. So there was some people, and I'm sure there were others. But, so I just want to say that, yes, we are in critical times. And if you're silent or if you're afraid to speak out, you need to ask yourself why. What are you afraid of? And I think some of these clips might help you get some courage, because I'm always going to do what I can to stand up for what is right. And I'm always going to be proudly serving in the war on injustice. As far as the websites that I did want to share, as far as where you can go and get information, this first website is a kind of a new website. So I don't know a lot about it, but from what I've seen, it has some pretty good information. And that is blackpowerwarroom.com. Again, that's blackpowerwarroom.com. It seems to have a lot of updated, good information on it. Of course, I've already mentioned powernomics.com. Dr. Claude Anderson, I'm always going to promote him. I know the work that he's done, even though he's up in age now, but he has been on the front line fighting for us. And of course, EJI.org, that's Equal Justice Initiative, Attorney Brian Stevenson. I'm always going to not only promote, but financially support that organization, because I know the great work that they're doing. So I just want to share that real quick, and I will be quiet now, and I will start the clip. Hopefully you'll get something out of it. This is just, again, my little passionate plea. I thank all of you that respond to the content that I do try to put out. Again, we have some work to do, and I hope we'll just keep pressing forward. And what I'll say is, we're never going to change people who are okay with people getting paid for tearing up the Capitol building. You know what I mean when I say that. We're never going to change people who just has racism ingrained in their bones. And unfortunately, even a large portion of the church, whatever religious organization you claim to be a part of, some will never stand up and speak out against evil. But as people who claim to follow Christ, it is always our place to stand up for what is right. Part of loving God is to hate evil, and being silent is not an option. I love you all. God bless you.
What I've concluded from analysis is that there are going to be a converging of social factors nationally and internationally that's going to place blacks in a permanent status of underclassship. And we anticipate by that point in time, based on all the research that's coming to us, that the next generation of whites is going to be more anti-black than they've been since the civil rights movement. 2, we anticipate, by the same token, about 86 million Hispanics coming into the United States and about 41 million Asians by that point in time. which is going to kick black folk out of being the minority in the society, down to a minority. We've been number 2 in the society for 400 years as a group. We're going to become number 4. And if we have not gotten anything after being number 2 for 400 years, you guess what's going to happen when we become number 4. Because at that point in time, all the new groups coming into America, they're coming in higher than we are, because this country operates off of a preferential acceptance program, which means that groups are coming in based on skin color, going from the lightest down to the darkest. Light, yellow, brown, black. And that's what our immigration laws are based on. And they would probably fall into 2 or 3 categories. First of all, you can have people who've given up to the realities of our conditions, who said simply, things are that bad for us, it's best for me to go side in with the other conservatives in the country and just live with that reality. You're going to have that. You're going to have others who are vested, they're in that small quota. As I said, in the integration process, whites prefer 0 blacks, but they would tolerate somewhere between 5 to 8%. Now, blacks who've integrated into the system and now vested because they are rather comfortable in their material accumulations, they're going to be resistant, okay? But unfortunately, I have not run into any of those yet. Then thirdly, you're going to find black folk who are going to simply say that I'm just either too tired or too indifferent to do anything. And what I would say to all 3 of those groups, stay where you are. There's an old rule in social dynamics that says if you want the same results, keep doing the same thing. And right now, black folk are not progress in this country, contrary to myth. We're in terms of quality of life and the social discomfort index, we are where we were in about 1840s. So keep standing and waiting, because the wagon is coming. I can guarantee you that the Jesse Helms and Newt Gingrich and some of the far right-wing groups in this country are making preparations for black folk. So you tell those who don't want to join the movement and try to change our conditions in this country, make black folk self-sufficient and competitive, you sit there and wait for them to come get you, because they're going to come.
Dr. Anderson, it's been enlightening, and it's been controversial. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
We get into it. I just want to say, I brought my parents out tonight. I just want to thank them for being here, for teaching me to focus on comprehension over career, that they make sure I learn what the schools were afraid to teach us, and also to thank my amazing wife for changing my life. Now, this award, this is not for me. This is for the real organizers all over the country, the activists, the civil rights attorneys, the struggling parents, the families, the teachers, the students that are realizing that a system built to divide and impoverish and destroy us cannot stand if we do. All right? All right? Now, dedicating our lives to getting money just to give it right back for someone's brand on our body, when we spent centuries praying with brands on our bodies, and now we pray to get paid for brands on our bodies. There has been no war that we have not fought and died on the front lines of. There has been no job we haven't done. There's no tax they haven't levied against us, and we've paid all of them. But freedom is somehow always conditional here. You're free, they keep telling us. But she would have been alive if she hadn't acted so free. Now, freedom is always coming in the hereafter. But you know what, though? The hereafter is a hustle. We want it now. And let's get a couple things straight. Just a little side note. The burden of the brutalized is not to comfort the bystander. That's not our job. All right, stop with all that. If you have a critique for the resistance, for our resistance, then you better have an established record of critique of our oppression. If you have no interest in equal rights for black people, then do not make suggestions to those who do. Sit down.
There are so many people that are silent when the truth, begs for advocacy, begs for supporters, to speak their conscience, man. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges that we face. But I understand where it's coming from. There's a lot of people that are fearful because time and again, history has shown that you got to play the game, because if you don't, you might lose your job.
Right.
You might lose your life, right? But we're going to die anyway.
Right.
Brother told me, he said, man, none of us going to make it out here alive. So you got a choice. Do you want to leave on the bed of truth or the bed of falsehood? I know it's easier said than done.
Right.
Because we so caught up in this materialism, like, well, yeah, I don't want to leave. No, man. Look, George Washington Carver said, no one has the right to come into this world and go out of it without leaving behind distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through it. So when it's all said and done, it's about leaving a legacy worth leaving. And we all got a choice. And for me, look, I'm not perfect. None of us are.
None of us
I
are.
have my flaws. I'm not the most eloquent and articulate and smartest guy in the world. But I know where my heart lies. And I know what my intentions are. And forever I'm gonna strive to be better and to benefit people as much as I can, you know, as much as I can.
Activist Randall Robinson of Trans-Africa is on another crusade.
The enslavement of blacks in America lasted 246 years. It was followed by a century of legal racial segregation and discrimination. The two periods taken together constitute the longest-running crime against humanity in the world over the last 500 years.
Also a leading advocate for reparations for slavery. Randall Robinson also spoke out for years against U.S. policy in Haiti. In 2004, he helped expose the U.S. role in the coup that ousted Haitian President Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Randall Robinson's books included An Unbroken Agony, Haiti from Revolution to the Kidnapping of a President, The Debt, What America Owes to Blacks, and Quitting America, the departure of a black man from his native land.
I get frustrated when I hear people talk about how, if I had been living during the time of slavery, of course I would have been an abolitionist. And most people think that if they had been living when mobs were gathering to lynch black people on the courthouse lawn, they would have said something. Everybody imagines that if they were in Alabama in the 1960s, they would have been marching with Dr. King. And the truth of it is, I don't think you can claim that if today you are watching these systems be created that are incarcerating millions of people, throwing away the lives of millions of people, destroying communities, and you're doing nothing. I think there's something better waiting for us in this country than another century of conflict and tension and burden, because we won't face the legacy of our past. I think it's important that we understand all the brutal, all the ugly details, because those are the things that actually give rise to what might allow us to one day claim something really beautiful.